Hello and welcome to another edition of Time About the Movies Flashback. Today we're flashing back to June 19th, 1987 with one movie, but a really good one. Steve Martin and Daryl Hannah starring in the modern retelling of Cyrano de Bergerac, Roxanne.
Those nose cards one more time. Oh, yeah.
C.D. Bales had a small problem.
They said it was big, but I didn't expect it to be big.
He could handle every situation. Except the one that mattered most.
I'm locked out of my house.
Come on inside, I'll get some tools.
I don't have any clothes on. Maybe you'd like some wine with your nose. Cheese.
I want to look like Diana Ross.
I think she's fallen in love, but she doesn't know it yet.
There's someone I think I should get to know better.
His name's Chris McConnell.
This time I want you to do it, Dave. I want you to cut the thing off.
Maybe you could encourage him a little.
Look, she wants somebody who looks like me and talks like you.
Don't panic. Stay calm. Stay calm.
Because there is a heart here
That's good. That's okay.
that wants you worse to know. There's a possible 502 on Main.
So why'd you say those things?
Tell her you were afraid of words.
Because I was afraid of worms, Roxanne. Worms!
Worm.
Love may be blind,
Get out.
Get in!
No, get out.
Get in!
but hopefully Roxanne isn't. Steve Martin,
Hey!
Daryl Hannah,
Why don't you just get that nose job?
I did.
Roxanne.
Hello! Wow! Wow! 15 love.
I mean, all she wanted to do was party all night, goddamn. She doesn't have to put on the red light. Max's girlfriend from a Goofy movie. I'm just making all the Roxanne references so we can get those out of the way now. I think I've made most of them, but most of the notable ones at least. But Roxanne, this is the movie that is, like I said, a modern version of Cyrano de Bergerac, where you have the story of a fire chief, C.D. Bales, played by Steve Martin, who's a man with a complex, a huge nose. His friend Dixie rents a house to a gorgeous astronomy student, played by Daryl Hannah, and C.D. falls in love with her, but he keeps his feelings as a secret. And he hires this handsome fireman, played by Rick Rosenbaum? Rick Rossovich. And Roxanne asks CD to help him meet him. However, Chris is an average guy with very limited culture, so he asks CD to help him seduce Roxanne. CD writes letters disclosing his feelings for her, but Roxanne is seduced by the man that writes such letters. What will happen when she meets Chris? As you can see from the trailer there. We've seen the story done before so many times in other movies, but, I mean, it's a very interesting, fun film in general, where Steve Martin's nose really is not the main focus of the movie. I mean, it's used for a lot of jokes and all that stuff, but it actually kind of works very well to the fact that they don't really make it the main focus of the movie in general. I mean, this is the anti-version of Penelope. You know that movie with Christina Ricci? Everyone thought she had an ugly nose, but it's like a little pig snot, and it wasn't even that great in general. I mean, honestly, if you really want to really dig deep into it, you could probably say that this movie was made so that one day when Muppet Babies actually does an episode about Gonzo, they can actually use a clip from the movie as the ending of a particular episode.
Personally, I think it's a great idea. What do you think?
I think it's a fantastic idea. I think it's great. I think it's brilliant. What an idea. And I was there. I saw it happen. He took the idea. He saw it ripe on the tree. He plucked it, and he put it in his pocket. It's, dare I say, genius? No, but maybe, maybe it is. Maybe I'm in the presence of greatness. Maybe I just don't know it, but I saw it.
That was my first time ever knowing this movie ever existed, of all things Muppet Babies. That episode, by the way, is Beauty and the Schnoz. I can't remember which season it was, but you can find it online on YouTube. Most of the episodes are on there online, but I've talked about Muppet Babies a lot, but that was my introduction to this movie. I never knew it even existed until that episode came along, and kind of made me want to see the movie, and eventually I did, and I'm glad I did, because it's a very fun comedy. It's a very well put together film. Daryl Hannah, very fun to watch in the movie. Steve Martin, very funny to watch, and this was kind of a big deal for Steve Martin in general. This was one of the few comedies that really, I mean, back then, when a lot of the critics were reviewing it, most of them were not as receptive as they were to most of were nowadays, specifically Siskel and Ebert. I mean, I've been watching a lot of Siskel and Ebert episodes of the older shows that they did back in the 70s and 80s, and I'll tell you, they were not the biggest fans of Steve Martin's earlier works. They gave negative reviews, I think, to The Jerk. I think they were very negative towards his other movies. A lot of really good stuff, too. I mean, you forget that, the early 80s, Steve Martin was a lot of really good stuff. The criminally underrated Pennies from Heaven, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, The Man with Two Brains, The Lonely Guy, All of Me, even great classics like Three Amigos and Little Shop of Horrors. Siskel and Ebert really did not like those movies. I think they actually had Three Amigos as one of the worst movies of '86, but excuse me, but it's so bad that I'm burping at the idea to put those as one of the worst movies of the year. Three Amigos, really? But obviously they've gone on to become comedy classics. I mean, yeah, Steve Martin has had some really bad movies down the road, but, I mean, these are classic films in general, and this film really is a really, really good movie, and a very good year for him, with this, and then my favorite movie of his, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which, need I say more about that classic, and even Siskel and Ebert were looking at that one and going, we'd be crazy not to give this a positive review, but this was a film that was really well done. This was actually one of the first films released when David Putnam took over Columbia Pictures. This was actually a film that was greenlit when the then production chief of the company, Guy McElwain, was leading the company, and it's a good thing they got it out when they did, because if they had sold this off to another studio, I don't think we'd be talking about this as a hit film in general, but the film came out, was a massive hit when it came out, and yeah, like I said, it's a really fun film. It's a really entertaining movie. You buy the chemistry between Hannah and Martin. Rick Rossovich from Top Gun as Chris is very good in here. Shelley Duvall, Fred Willard, Damon Wayans in one of his early film roles. You see Brian George, Babu from Seinfeld. Kevin Nealon's one of the drunks in this movie that always picks on CD. I mean, it's a really good movie. It's a really well-made film from a really good director, Fred Gillespie, who has made a lot of films I've actually have kind of enjoyed. Fierce Creatures, I thought, was very underrated, as is IQ, the movie with Walter Matthau as Albert Einstein. Tim Robbins and Meg Ryan are in that movie. Fantastic film. He did a really good movie a couple of years before this, Iceman, which is a very underrated film. I think that starred Timothy Hutton, but yeah, it's a really good film. That's a great film we'll eventually get to in '84, but he's made a lot of films I've really liked, and this is definitely one of his best films, one of the best movies that Steve Martin and Daryl Hannah did. Just a really good, warm-hearted romantic comedy. It's a very fun film. One of the great Steve Martin classics. One you got to check out. Roxanne. It's a great, great movie. So yeah, relatively short show this week, but hey, that's what you get when you have one movie out there. But next time around, we've got 4 more movies to look at, and a couple of classics, including the classic Arnold Schwarzenegger, John McTiernan masterpiece Predator, George Miller's The Witches of Eastwick with Cher, Susan Sarandon, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Jack Nicholson. The not-so-classic, but pretty impressive marketing campaign for it. Martin Sheen in the horror film The Believers, and $1 Million Mystery, which... yeah, you might not remember this movie, but but the clips I've seen for it and the whole thing, it was one of those movies that had one of those promotional things, and we'll eventually delve into that one next week, but just be prepared for another very good film with that one. So we got some films to take a look at next time around, and we'll do that next week on the show. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please go ahead and hit that playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode. Also, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, notification button, and the bell. That's when you get updates when new videos come out, and we do post new videos here every day. So, with all that said, I'm off. I'll see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.